For those of you who have joined us after closed session, I am Jeff Conwell, Board President. I'd like to introduce my fellow trustees. Let's see. Oh, you. Okay. Maria Haug, Lisa Pelosi, Jeannie Kerr, and Julio Aguin, our student representative, Miss Sammy Rabin. I'm not even going to look at my notes. I'm going to say, and welcome to Dr. Mary Lou Wilson. Thank you for being here. Miss Andy Stubbs, Mr. Chris Heller, and Miss Erica Madrigal. Thank you very much for being here. We are delighted you're here this evening and in person, and we do have a few people now that it's no longer a closed session, and reviewing is on channel 27 or our new YouTube channel. A copy of the board meeting video will be available at our website at www.stlinunified.org. In conjunction with item A, B, and C, the board received information and provided staff with direction. In connection with closed session item D, the board conducted the superintendent's mid-year evaluation, and all five of us gave keep the course, keep going, and stay on our goals. So it was a very positive report. At this point in time, brings us to flag salute. So if somebody stand up and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yeah, okay, thanks. Okay, we are on item 6A, which is public comment on open session items. So this is time for the public to speak on anything that is not on the agenda tonight. Does anybody wish to address the board on something that is not on the agenda? I see walking, but I don't see anybody coming to the podium. Okay. We are on to item number 7, presentation. This is a presentation by the student representative of the board, Ms. Sammy Rabin.
Thanks. So this time when I went to the primary school, I met with a group of second grade students who shared information regarding the Green Team, which is a group of students that help other students learn how to correctly recycle and compost. And they gave me more information, but I'll save that for the next meeting when I report on the Green Initiative progress so far. So they also told me about their Read Across America event that they had a few weeks ago, in which they participated in a bunch of different activities to encourage the students to read more and enjoy their reading. And so some of the activities included bingo and a door decorating contest, as you can see over there. They also went on a field trip to visit the guide dog facility pretty recently, and they got to see some of the guide dogs in training and learn a bit about how they are trained. And they also really enjoyed it because they got to pet dogs in the end, and who doesn't like petting dogs, right? So then at the elementary school, the student council just received new t-shirts, and one of the students actually designed the t-shirts and drew up a little picture for the front of the shirt. So all of them are really proud and really excited to show that off. And they are also starting a new dance club to organize a dance for the upcoming talent show that they're putting on. And they're also very excited about this because they've been putting in a lot of work to organize it and make sure that it's super inclusive, so anybody that wants to join can join, and they will adjust depending on how many people join and the different grades and everything like that. I also visited with Miss Rodriguez's third grade class, and they showed me the fish eggs that they've been taking care of for a while now to learn about the fish cycle, and they will be releasing the fish in about a month at Lake Hennessy. And they showed me their projects that they made for their Pioneer/WAPO Indian unit, and they also shared their fun experiences that they had during Pioneer Day, which was February 22nd. And their favorite part was when they got to make their own butter and eat it. So that was fun. Then at the RLS, the AVID teachers created a really big PowerPoint with information about college, such as the difference between public and private schools and big versus small schools, and stuff like that, just to start their exposure to colleges really early. and they show one slide of the big presentation every Tuesday in the first period class, and they're calling it College Awareness Tuesday. ASB also held a rally on March 1st where they introduced the wrestling team and played a bunch of really fun games, and all the students really seemed to enjoy it. And finally, the 8th graders are getting ready for the Yosemite trip, which is coming up at the end of April, and they just signed up for the cabins that they want, and they are very ready for that trip. And then at the high school, we had a really successful career day on the 22nd of February, and the students seemed to really enjoy the professionals that presented, and they liked the open access time so that anybody that didn't get to go to certain sessions could ask about careers that they were still interested in. And we have our St. Patrick Day rally tomorrow where we'll recognize winter sports, and we'll also have a dance-off and a relay race, and the long-awaited annual teacher versus student basketball game also will take place tomorrow. And finally, Mamma Mia, which is the production that's put on by the advanced CTE drama class, has been super successful. If you guys haven't seen it, I highly recommend. It's really, really good. And yeah, okay, well, we have some good news. Both weekends sold out, so Miss Coyle decided to add in an encore show on Tuesday at 6 o'clock next Tuesday. So great. It'll be first come, first serve, $10 cash at the door. So yeah, if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend, and that's going to be on Tuesday. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And as I recall, Mr. Heller, are you part of that 3x3 team over there that battles it out on the hard court?
I will participate, and Trustee Olguin is going to participate with me this year.
Whoa, okay.
We're recruiting.
Okay, all right. Big fun at the high school for sure. Certainly it gets carried back to our household to hear what happens during that. So we are on to item 7B, presentations, is a request for adoption of Resolution 18-22, Week of the Volunteer. I've asked Vice President Howe to read this for us today.
A resolution of the Governing Board of the St. Helena Unified School District, Resolution 18-22, School Volunteer Appreciation Week 2019. Whereas School Volunteer Week offers the opportunity to recognize and thank school volunteers who contribute unselfishly to the success of the St. Helena Unified School District students, teaching and support staff, and the goals of the public education, and whereas parental and community involvement is a significant factor in the quality of our schools and the success of our students, and whereas we appreciate the dedicated volunteers who give their time and talent to assist professional educators and support staff, and whereas volunteers reflect the highest values of our society and become role models for students by demonstrating an interest in education, and whereas volunteers are called upon to assist teachers and staff with the day-to-day activities involved in providing a quality education for our students and are an important part of a team that strives to ensure that each and every one of our students succeeds, and whereas it is fitting to support the goals of this observance as when parents, schools, and communities work together in preparing today's students for tomorrow's world, therefore be it resolved that the Governing Board of the St. Helena Unified School District recognize the week of April 7th, 2019 through April 13th, 2019 as School Volunteer Week.
Thank you very much for reading. Is there anyone who would like to make public comment on this agenda item? Trustees, any questions or comments?
No, other than thank you to all our wonderful parent volunteers.
Absolutely. It's a community and a town that makes a difference. At this point, is there a motion to approve the adoption of Resolution 18-22, Week of the Volunteer?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We're on to item number 8, board-related items. This is a review of the draft Resolution 18-20, Inter-District Transfer. Dr. Mary Lou Wilson, please.
Yes, by way of review, governing board members, beginning in August of this school year, we began looking at Administrative Regulation 5117.1 inter-district transfers as they relate to students who want to attend our district. And we took that policy to the board policy committee, and there were some recommended modifications to that policy that were shared with you on the December 13th, 2018 board meeting. And the recommended change at that time, it was to delete regular as far as employees and clearly define that students of classified and certificated employees would be allowed to attend our schools. At that time, I shared with you a number of options with regards to those students who would be impacted by that change. And those options are on the screen at this time. And you will recall that I recommended options 1, 2, and 3 and received direction from the board to develop a resolution, option number 4, that would define continued admittance for those students who are currently attending our schools and would be affected by the change in that administrative regulation. So what you have before you tonight is a draft of the resolution. You'll recall that there were a number of guidelines that you shared with me during that December board meeting, and working with legal counsel, we have drafted a resolution that's before you now for your review, and I'd be interested in any modifications or recommendations that you have with regards to that resolution at this time.
Is there any public comment on the draft resolution of 18-20? Please.
Good evening. My name is Stephanie Perry. I'm a parent of 2 of the students who are impacted by the changes to this administrative regulation. Thank you very much for your consideration of this proposed resolution to grandfather the 8 students impacted by the changes to your enrollment policy. At the December 2018 meeting, I shared that had I known that the district was considering changing its longstanding policy and practices around avid tutors and residency for enrollment, I would not have moved my 2 students to the primary and elementary schools. But now they're enrolled under the recently amended administrative regulation and have established friendships, settled into new routines, and become part of the school community. As you can imagine, having to move schools, in my kids' case, after only 1 year, would be very disruptive to their education and well-being. As you know, a resolution of this type has precedent in the district. When the board chose to transition from the IDA process to the district of choice, they chose to allow the students who were enrolled under prior policies to stay in their school communities. Clearly, the board has agreed in the past that changes to current enrollment policies should not penalize students already enrolled in the district. I assume this is the same process you would follow if the school residency benefits for other types of employees, like classified and certificated employees who are represented by unions, were under review. I hope you will assume the same fair, just process that's also very student-focused as you consider the resolution before you. Thank you for your thoughtfulness and commitment to the district students, including my own 2 children.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to address the board on this agenda item? Okay. Yeah. And just as a reminder, it's 3 minutes maximum, and we are going to be enforcing that tonight as well. Thank you.
Most definitely. Thank you. My name is Catherine Rabley. My daughter Olivia and Madeline, who's actually a senior at the high school, have been in the St. Helena school system from the beginning. They started out in the Catholic school when we lived actually up in Lake County. Then we moved here to St. Helena. They've been in this district now ever since the Catholic school closed. This is all my daughters have ever known. If I'm understanding correctly, I believe my oldest daughter, Madeline, would not be impacted by this, given that she is a junior. But my younger daughter, Olivia, who is in the 6th grade, will be impacted by it. And I just wanted to reiterate to you how much this community has meant to her. I've actually been in St. Helena since 1996, so I've kind of come and gone in the community, but been here forever, and again have worked at the Culinary Institute for 17 years, and this is our life here. even though we technically have moved back to Napa at this point. I hope you will reconsider or consider the resolution as it stands. I would be very grateful for that, and I know that you would be very pleased to have my daughter Olivia continue in the St. Helena district system, so thank you for your consideration.
Thank you very much. Anyone else wish to address the board on this agenda item? Trustees, questions, comments concerning the resolution before us, 18-20?
Well, so my comment would be, because when we were discussing it in the December meeting, I wrote down the list of kind of the things that we were discussing, and that is all in the resolution, and I appreciate that. So thank you very much. So that is my only comment as far as the resolution at this time.
And that was what I was planning to say as well. So thank you very much.
Okay. And so I just want to confirm that we do have 3 still in support of this resolution, 3 board members. We're not voting on anything, but we have 3 board members are still
I'm in
in
support, yes.
And I'm also in support. I just want to reiterate, I wrote down Lisa's comment from the last board meeting where we discussed this, where we were the ones that changed the policy, and that we need to take into account the students that are affected by the policy.
Thank you. And so what I want to do is I'd like to come back to Dr. Mary Lou Wilson to discuss. We have in April a scheduled meeting, and if you'd go ahead and talk about that and give us an overview, please.
Yes, I've been working with legal counsel on this administrative regulation, and in order to be legally sound, I decided to have counsel take a look at not only the AR, but the board policy on district of choice and all of the policies revolving around interdistrict transfers. And it is her recommendation that we review all of the policies and discuss some of the aspects that, when the policies were originally written, may have been legally sound. There are some aspects that may not be legally sound. And for example, we currently have students who, by way of the IDA, Interdistrict Attendance Agreement, we have students who are in our district as district of choice students, and they have siblings that are not a part of district of choice because we did not have room. And yet, because of our interdistrict attendance policy, where we allow siblings of district of choice to obtain an IDA, then we are working against the DOC process. So if we're over cap in a particular grade level, we're bringing more students in over cap because they have a district of choice sibling. So in light of the legal counsel and the work that we'll be doing in April around DOC, there may be other students that would be impacted by some potential changes. And it's my goal that we have, as I've mentioned to you before, ARs and board policy that is legal and defensible, and that we can all stand behind and move forward to run a smooth district.
Thank you. And just to help with a little clarification, so the plan is we'll have another info. This will come back to us, information, and we will share what we learn at that, what day is it? April 11th, when we have that meeting. So we will share that. No action will be taken next in April, and then we will wait and see whether there's a combined resolution or whatever our legal counsel says that we need to do, and then possibly looking at something as early as in May as an actionable item that would have been given feedback.
Okay.
That's
So
the timing goal.
just to clarify, the main concern we have right now is the siblings of district of choice students and the legality of giving them IDAs.
Correct. And there, she also, the legal counsel also has a recommendation around the employees and a different way of looking at how you include employees into the district instead of an inter-district transfer.
Okay.
That's fair.
Trustees, any more questions or comments about the timing? Okay. All right, we are on to, let's see, make sure I'm getting it right here. Information and discussion, potential approval of revision of board policies, March 2019. And who is going to get this? Dr. Mary Lou Wilson, again. So these are the policies, or is this supposed to be Mr. Heller? I think so.
Well, if I could, the one board policy that I'd like to highlight that does have a change in the recommendation is on board policy 450, the comprehensive safety plan. In the previously published agenda, it had adopt with adoption 2, which was to create a district-wide plan, but that's not the practice that we currently implement in our district. We have every site develop a plan, and so I would recommend that change that we adopt with option 1 is to have each school site develop a comprehensive safety plan. And we're available for questions on any of the other board policies.
Okay. Is there any public comment on this agenda item? Trustees, any comments or questions on this?
President Conwell?
Yes.
I believe you requested that Ms. Stubbs speak to the board policy with regards to contracts and construction.
I did, but I forgot that. So, Ms. Stubbs, please.
Thank you. Regarding Board Policy 3312, which is indeed our board policy on contracts, we've got some language revision there, which would allow for contracts for public works projects and services up to $100,000 that are associated with a board-approved district facility project. Could be approved by the superintendent or designee and then included for ratification on the consent agenda. And so this would allow us to continue with board-approved facilities projects, say over the summer, winter school break, where the work needs to continue quickly and we have to keep moving. So, so this will assist us with that.
And we're essentially raising the dollar value, which allows them flexibility to do things on a weekend or a Saturday if they need to do it for something that's already been pre-approved.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
That's fair enough.
Yeah. Any questions or comments?
So just again for clarification, this came about because of the issue of the press box being delivered during winter break. Is that correct?
Preparations had to be made for the press box delivery during winter break, yes, and we've had a circumstance a couple of summers ago, too, with our network operations center and some work that needed to occur timely over the summer. And so having this in place would have allowed us to proceed without concern for timing of board meetings and so forth.
So at this point, is there a motion to approve board policy revisions of March 2019?
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries. We are on to item number 9 under student learning and achievement. It's a written report on the 2018-19 LCAP, or Local Control Accountability Plan, and this month it is a monthly update. So do we have any questions from the public concerning this document? Trustees?
I wanted to comment.
Yes, please.
This was the LCAP, right? Yeah, I just wanted to say this was my first year being at the student conference or meetings, and they added the RLS, and I wanted to say it was one of the most enjoyable parts besides meeting at the LCAP meetings. But this is it was nice to see all the students and just how they're able to express themselves, and I felt like they gave very thoughtful feedback that's important for the LCAP. And then I also wanted to comment on the San Lena Cafe. Again, this was another enjoyable part for me. This is my second year in the LCAP committee, and just kind of seeing the community be there collaborating was very good, and I'm actually interested to see what came about with that summary. So both of them were good for me.
Thank you very much. Any other comments? We're up to 9B, which is consideration of approval for unduplicated low-performing student grant. Ms. Mary Allen, please.
I'm short here, so good evening, everybody. So every year, California districts receive federal dollars, and they're directed towards programs and services. Tonight, you're going to be looking at the federal dollars under Title II, which is for low-performing student block grant. And what that means is that students that scored level 1 on the state test, which is not met state standards, we have approximately 27, monies will be directed towards providing services and programs for those particular students. Currently, it needs to align with the LCAP, and it does align nicely with goal number 2 in reference to coaching and curriculum training for our teachers for math and ELA, as well as English language arts, the MTSS system that we're creating, as well as online supports individualized learning for our students. We don't need to create new programs, we just need to make sure our 27 students are identified and within programs that we already have within the district.
Is there any public comment on this agenda item? Trustees, any questions or comments on this agenda item?
My question is, so with this will this be an annual grant that we receive, or is it something that we apply for each year, or how did it come about?
This is a 2-year grant, and it ends June 2021. Okay. So it's just one-time dollars, and I'm assuming is they want to bring everybody up to par, and sometimes that happens with the federal dollars that come in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
And I saw that we're going to be using online curriculum as well. And we're sure that all these students have access to internet in the home, or?
It's within the school setting,
okay.
So the principals have already done a great job. We know which 27 students we're looking at, and the principals are looking at what supports they already have. So several of our students are already on System 44, Read 180, Edmentum, besides teacher-directed teacher instruction. So the idea is just, here's the 27, let's make sure we focus on them, make sure they have all the supports that they absolutely need, as well as first offer to summer school support.
I have no other questions.
Is there a motion to approve the unduplicated low-performing student grant for implementation?
I'll make that motion.
You're not going to read it.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We are on to presentation of UC Davis Professional Learning Communities, PLC Training. Ms. Tamara Sanguinetti and Ms. Tanya Pearson, please. And a whole host of teachers.
Good evening, everyone. I am so excited and also so very proud of the work that we have done this year in conjunction with UC Davis and Dr. Tom Maney, who is the author of several books around professional learning communities. And so I am going to keep my comments very short because the real meat of the presentation is with the teachers, the teaching teams from St. Helena Elementary School and St. Helena Primary School.
Hello, my name is Gina Mead. I'm a 5th grade teacher at the elementary school. Teachers from the primary and elementary schools have been attending once-a-month meetings at UC Davis for the Principal Support Network. The learning that's happened thus far is truly outstanding, and to best illustrate the importance of our work, I come to you with this analogy. A pilot. Would you say that being a pilot is a complicated job? Requires training? And would you say that lives hang in the balance based on how this pilot performs? What about a surgeon? Complicated job. Requires training and practice. Lives hang in the balance. How about teachers? Would you say that teachers have a complicated job of balancing many moving parts and require training, practice? Would you say that teachers affect lives depending on how well we do our jobs? Teaching is complex and complicated. Like pilots and surgeons, we are required to be effective and efficient because ultimately lives hang in the balance. So how do we create effective teachers, effective teams, effective schools? How do we get everyone on the same page to make the greatest impact possible each year?
Hi, I'm Caitlin Levine. I teach first grade. So our work through the Principal Support Network at UC Davis has helped us with the creation of a strategic implementation guide, which we refer to as the SIG. And the SIG is our flight plan. It will help guide and strengthen the professional learning communities within our grade level teams as well as our school sites. A strong PLC is built on these three pillars: a focus on learning, a collaborative culture, and a results orientation. So our SIG lists criteria or an implementation process to support our staff to become more collaborative and effective educators as we all undergo the educational changes that come with new curriculum and new standards. This document serves as a guide that we will constantly refer back to and will be modified as our professional learning communities develop. Next slide. Thank you. So a PLC is driven by focusing on these four questions. What do we want our students to know? How will we know that they know it? What do we do once they've learned it? And what do we do if they do not learn it?
So I'm Jocelyn Ivanoff. I teach second grade at the primary school, and I'm here to teach you, to share with you, it just comes out all the time, to share with you about the first pillar, which emphasizes a focus on learning, specifically student learning. Throughout our training, we have learned that as educators, we need to define our purpose as ensuring that all students learn rather than all students have been taught. In order to do this, we saw the necessity for working collaboratively in our PLCs to implement a guaranteed and viable curriculum by reaching consensus about what the essential skills are that students must learn and assure that they have these skills before they move on to their next grade level. We realized the importance of taking a collective responsibility for student learning and the need to provide students with multiple opportunities to learn and to demonstrate their understanding of these essential skills. And finally, in order to monitor student learning, we realized that as teams, we must develop common formative assessments, which we would be able to use to to improve our own practice, build the team's capacity to achieve its goals, and intervene and enrich on behalf of our students. So in this video, you'll see our kindergarten's PLC, and the teachers are looking at student data on pre-literacy skills. They're looking at how to regroup the students based on their needs and to plan on how to best work with these students beyond their own classroom.
I'm wondering if 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, if we could get Cindy to do an in-school boot camp on those first sound fluencies, and we still work on the letter naming, because that list is.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Jen Vidal. I'm the academic specialist and intervention teacher at the elementary school. In this role, I'm part of grade level professional learning communities as well. And the next pillar is about effective PLCs and how they help with collaborative culture and some significant shifts that happen once this systematic process is in place and developed over time. Teachers become even more committed to working together to achieve a collective purpose. One noticeable shift is this idea from privatization of practice to a real open sharing of practices. And what I mean by this is that PLCs meet, they have a common goal and a standard that they're working on. They've created assessments together that everyone's using to see when students have mastered those standards. This keeps focused meetings and the end and goal, and allows teachers to backwards plan and share ideas of strategies that have proven to work in the past. Teachers are able to then learn from each other and try out new methods, and then come back to the table and celebrate achievements together, and then brainstorm strategic next steps. Our PLCs have also helped break down some silos of individual classrooms and shifted our thinking and conversations from these are my students and those are yours to really these are all of our students and what are we doing collectively together. I've seen this play out in a few ways. One example, at our site at least, is rather than having support staff do interventions for students who need additional support on a particular standard, teachers who are strong in certain areas have stepped up and taken all students and to work with them to give additional reteaching and support before school, after school, and during the school day. As a result, teams are mutually accountable and work interdependently.
Hi, my name is Melissa Pritchett, and I teach third grade at the elementary school. And in this video, you will see my third grade team working together to grade one of our common assessments for language arts. This assessment was created by the team and given in all of our classrooms. In this video, you will see us calibrating how we score our common assessment. Angie answers my question by referring to the race strategy that we had agreed to use to teach this standard. We then agree on how to grade the question as a team. The collaborative practices we are implementing strengthen our relationships and build trust in a way that brings out the best in each of us. Through this process, we learn from one another and build on each other's strengths and experience in a way that ensures we have a voice in a shared plan that ensures success for all of our third grade students.
Good evening. My name is Kathy O'Connor, and I am the academic specialist and intervention teacher at the primary school. And tonight I'll be talking to you about the third pillar of an effective professional learning community, which is a results orientation. The third pillar of an effective professional learning community is results orientation. Teachers in a results-oriented professional learning community use common formative assessments to continually look for evidence of student learning. Collaboratively analyzing data from these assessments allows teams not only to gather evidence of student learning, but also enables them to make powerful instructional decisions and share best practices in order to target the unique needs of all students. As the teams focus on answering the questions, how will we respond when students don't learn, and how will we respond if they already know it? We are able to have collaborative discussions that ensure we provide true differentiated instruction, effective, timely interventions, as well as opportunities for enrichments for all students across each grade level.
Good evening. I'm Angie Morris from the elementary school, and the video that I'm about to show you is, you'll see the fourth grade team. We are digging into a common assessment on fractions, and we are analyzing the results to target our next steps. We are using the assessments to inform not only our instruction, but also our intervention and enrichment.
And thank you. To wrap up, I just appreciate so much the opportunity to have brought this team through this process this year. This work with PLCs is our third year that Tamara Sanguinetti and myself have been working with our teams to implement. We've worked with SMART goals, and we've developed some templates that we still use to this day, 3 years later, that are grounded in the questions and the pillars that we talked about. Last year, I was able to participate as an individual in this process, and was so excited to know that the second year and third would be to be able to bring strategic teams that can share this leadership of this work. And hopefully that's come out loud and clear, that we are working with the PLCs. The guidance that we're getting now is what they say it helps schools that have either plateaued or are doing well to be able to ratchet up even more steeply with the work as they're tinkering and working and making this learning really visible. And that in doing that, they're owning the process of it. And we really appreciate that, and just it's been really wonderful to see the results come out as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any public comment on this presentation? Trustees, questions, comments, please.
Just one clarification. I think you answered this last week. The staff that's selected to go to Davis, it's a 2-year term on that, right? And then you change out teachers?
Yes.
Okay.
On the leadership team, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
In one school, it has been the leadership team, and another, it was volunteers from each of the team, but to have one grade level representative per grade level team, and also both of our intervention specialists as well.
No, so my comment is just, it's really exciting, and thank you very much for sharing with us. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for your time. It seems very, very interested. I love the collaboration of everyone getting together and talking about students, and it's keep up the good work. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Once again, thank you very much for everything you're doing, and we appreciate you sharing this with us tonight. We are on to item number 9D. This is a presentation on the TK 5 programming and looping. And if we could, Dr. Mary Lou Wilson, please.
I feel challenged to follow that crew. Just want to thank each of the teachers for being here tonight and sharing your story. It's really exciting work, and I'm just thrilled to hear what you're doing for students every day in the classrooms and through the professional development. At the November study session, the board directed staff to take a look at our K-5 programming and bring forward any recommendations for shifts, course correcting, moving forward to ensure that student achievement continues to improve. At the February board meeting, staff did share a presentation and made a number of recommendations. And at that time, staff was directed to provide more information and more community input. So the purpose of this evening is to share with you the input that was provided, the more information, and to continue the conversation with regards to TK5 programming and looping. The presentation that's on the screen right now is the presentation that was shown last Wednesday evening, where a number of community members and employees joined myself and Mr. Heller for a presentation. We talked about the district priorities. We talked about the perspective around what happens at student achievement study sessions. We talked about looking at growths and challenges and celebrations, and what we as staff continue to do each year when we find areas where growth is warranted. We talked about some examples and gave information around how the math intervention program at the high school was modified to support students as a result of a study session, and a few other examples. We also looked at data, and the slide that is before you right now is the, excuse me, the English Language Arts and Math CASP, California Assessment of Student Performance and Progress data. That is the high stakes assessment that all students in the state of California take, that is aligned with the California Common Core standards. And we looked at that last column, and you'll see these are the scores over time of our students who either met or exceeded the assessment. And if the number is blue, that means that we've seen growth over time as a grade level. If the number is red, that means that there was not growth and, in fact, a decline. And that is for both ELA and math. And that's simply looking at the grade levels over time. We also then looked at the data as a cohort. As you know, many of our students stay with us, and so the cohort is fairly consistent. And my concern, as I shared with the group last Wednesday night, is that over time our third graders in 2016 as fifth graders in 2018 in ELA showed a decline of a couple of percentage points. And our fourth graders showed a decline of 10% as far as meeting and exceeding. And looking at the mathematics, our third graders from 2016, 61% of them were either meeting or exceeding the CASP assessment, and in 2018, as fifth graders, 36% of them were meeting or exceeding. And as the superintendent, as the instructional leader, I can't rest with those kinds of numbers. And so when we were directed in November to look for recommendations, I asked staff to look hard and make recommendations to move us forward. I worry about doing the same thing and not making changes. We also talked about how unique our schools are, and this is not an exhaustive list on the screen right now. That is a short list of many reasons why our schools are unique and incredible, and that while test scores and assessments are a part of what we use to know that we're moving forward, that's not the only litmus test for our schools. I talked about the importance of our teachers and teachers being a part of making decisions, and you saw that just a moment ago with the teachers who are participating in UC Davis. If Tanya and Tamara were coming back and saying, do this work with the teachers, they wouldn't own it at the same level because they wouldn't understand it. And so teacher efficacy, teachers' participation is critically important in student achievement. So this year, again, I was tasked with the notion of looking at grades 4, 5, and 6. We know that our students are happy, they feel safe, they feel connected to our schools. Across the board, all of our students will tell us that there's at least one, if not many, adults that they feel connected to. They're very happy in our schools. So we were looking at the systems and the structures, and staff began that conversation with principals early on. Principals were at the study session, and then also with teachers regarding any changes or recommendations. We know that the Common Core is complex. We heard from Gina, she compared our teachers to pilots and surgeons. I think Jeff has told me before that he's only allowed to fly one plane. He can't fly other planes because that is the plane he's supposed to fly. And that's what he's trained to do. We don't want a brain surgeon doing foot surgery. We know that it's complex. And our K-5 teachers, TK-5 teachers, are responsible for all subject areas, all core areas. And we have an ongoing process with adoption where we had a break for a few years because of the change in assessments, but the break has ceased, and annually we are looking at an adoption. Every 7 years, an ELA, an English Language Arts adoption, will come forward. So on a regular basis, our TK-5 teachers are asked to look at, pilot, and adopt new materials. We currently have a math curriculum that's been in place for four solid years, English Language Arts curriculum that's been in place for 2 years, and we are looking to pilot and adopt History Social Science next year, and the following year, the Next Generation Science curriculum. So the recommendations that came before you in February and are coming before you again tonight, we do need to continue to implement the Common Core curriculum, and we need to continue the coaching model with the curriculum implementation. Our teachers have coaching with their mathematics adoption, their ELA adoption. They also have coaching from WestEd around academic vocabulary and coaching on depth of knowledge, making sure that they're going deep and critical in their teaching. The professional learning and language development is what I just mentioned with regards to the WestEd academic vocabulary. We have been piloting additional Spanish options within the TK-5 arena this year as recommended last year, and we need to continue that. We've moved into another model for this last trimester, and I'm really looking forward to hearing more from our teachers and our piloting teacher how that is going. We want to continue to expand grade level community building activities and grade level mentoring. We have a vast social emotional curriculum and also services. We provide counseling services and group services. We have curriculum all around anti-bullying. We have lots that we do to support our students, and we know that anxiety is a big part of our nation today, so we need to continue to expand our social emotional. We also want to continue that third year of professional learning communities with UC Davis, and I fear that if we said no, our teachers might get up and leave right now. We want to continue that that work with UC Davis, and we're very excited that our teachers and our principals are interested in that work. What I've heard from our teachers through our principals is that they indicate the collaborative work is time-consuming and complex. It is the right work to ensure that the students are receiving what they need, and that they want to focus on one grade level over time. The complexity of the work that they've been doing, they want to continue to do that same work at that same grade level. So as we continue with recommendations, we are recommending that we implement single grade Common Core content experts at all grade levels, TK5. And in order to do that, the recommendation is to discontinue the practice of looping at grades 1 and 2 and 4 and 5. I think it's important to note that at that TK5 level, any teacher at any time could be moved to a different grade level, and approximately 80% of the TK5 teachers and both of the principals support the shift to these single grade Common Core content experts. Along with this PowerPoint in the agenda item, Erica, if you could share the, there are a number of additional attachments to support this work. So you'll see the advertisements for the different parent meetings that we had, the 70-page district data report that was presented in November to the governing board. Oh, yes. More of the data report. There are a number of acronyms in the data reports. There's actually a user's guide to help members of the community understand what we're saying in the report. And then this document, thank you to Erica Madrigal, who attended the parent meeting last week. This, on the left-hand side, would be the comments and or questions that were made by the public, and then any answers to questions or responses that were given by a variety of staff members. A thank you to Chris Heller, Tamara Sanguinetti, and Tanya Pearson, and Mary Allen for participating in that presentation. So we wanted to make sure that you had the opportunity to view the comments that were made and the work that's been done to support this recommendation at this time.
Thank you very much. So a couple questions to ask the trustees, and then I'll open it up. So first of all, Trustee Pelosi and Dr. Wilson, did you guys have an opportunity to review the February board meeting covering this informational item?
Yes.
As I did? Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. And Trustee Howard, did you have a chance to review the notes that Ms. Madrigal typed for us that we just were shown?
Yeah.
Okay. So the rest of the trustees were at that presentation. So I just wanted to make sure that we all know that all the things that were said, we've all heard and listened to previously. At this time, I would like to see a show of hands who those who would like to address the board on this agenda item. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, a whole bunch. Okay. All right. So, seeing there are so many, please limit yourself to new information that you'd like to share about the district recommendations. Please keep in mind the trustees and superintendents have heard all the previous comments at the last board meeting, and also that what was in the public meeting at the barn on March 6th. And we've also read the written communications to the board. I ask that you line up behind the microphone, and as a reminder, please be courteous to others with opposing viewpoints. So if you would, please line up. The maximum time that you'll be allowed is 3 minutes. However, I'm going to remind the crowd this meeting is held in public and is not a public meeting. If the public comment portion lasts more than 20 minutes on this agenda item, I will reserve the right to poll the room. So there's ample time tonight for the Board of Trustees to share their their views and be able to vote on this item if warranted. All these time limits and ability to poll the room is stated clearly in our board policies 9323, conduction of a meeting. So at this point, I'd ask you to please to stand up. I'm going to run a 20-minute clock over here, and if you'll run a 3-minute, please. So just bear in mind that all the people want to speak 20 minutes, and appreciate it.
Good evening. My name is Jacob, and I am in 5th grade at the St. Helena Elementary School. I will be moving to the RLS at the end of the school year in 2019. I understand that you are considering removing looping from the schools, and I strongly disagree that getting rid of looping will help the students. During the period of 2 years, students can get well acquainted with their teachers. This causes a relationship between the student and the teacher. If we get different teachers each year, we have a shorter time to know them. Having the same teacher for 2 years, you get into a routine that is not really interrupted by a lot of things, and you get to know your teacher's expectations. I can easily get back from summer vacation and begin working on what I'm supposed to be doing because I know what my teacher expects of me. The teachers get to know the students, and they get to identify the students that are not very they identify subjects that the students are not very good at and help them get stronger in those areas. They also know which students can't be trusted to sit next to each other and help them make better choices. I personally have a hard enough time as it is to say goodbye to the teachers that I love. Without looping, I wouldn't be who I am today. I also understand that you are trying to make the schools better. Here's a suggestion you can try. We need more creative thinking during school in the form of expressing ourselves through art. We can do this by setting aside a part of the budget to spend on art supplies and possibly an art teacher. It is difficult for me to say why students do not do well on the MAP tests. My guess is that they don't really try hard because some of them don't care and are a little intimidated. One thing to do about this is to break up the MAP test into smaller sections and do a couple each day for a short period of time. This way, kids with shorter attention spans can do the testing but not be intimidated by a large amount of questions. My teacher, Miss Wright, has been the best teacher I could possibly have, and I want other kids to enjoy her for the same amount of time that I have. Many other kids do not like school, but I think Miss Wright and all the other great teachers who are given 2 years with the students can help them try harder and like school more. Thank you for your time. Jacob Zuniga.
Tough act to follow. Right. I'm Mark Lilsdorf, Vice President of the SHTA. I'm reading a statement from Brandon Farrell, who is not the SHTA President, who is not able to be in attendance this evening. As a representative of all teachers, TK-12, in our district, we thank the teachers of St. Helena Unified for their ongoing professionalism and dedication to our students. Our teachers are passionate about advocating for our students, whether it's a shift from 3 programs in the early parts of this decade or adjusting to different leadership styles in our school system. Our teachers have always been willing to provide feedback, look at different options, and present arguments as to why they passionately support the education of this community. Over the years, our teachers have been constant driving force for positive change for our students. This should come to no surprise, however, as our profession changes day by day, sometimes minute by minute, as each student comes to school with a completely new and new dynamic each and every day. What makes our profession most challenging is not a change in curriculum or a change in scheduling, it's how students change from day to day or even hour to hour. These changes are what makes our profession rewarding and so exhilarating. Recently, our TK-5 teachers have been given opportunities to provide feedback regarding looping grades from one year to the next. Our teachers have been asked to speak or requested to speak multiple times regarding the programmatic change. They also have been given an opportunity to give feedback anonymously. As we presented before, this change comes down to whether you prefer a grade level expert or believe that looping grade levels gives you the best opportunity to reach student in a positive way. SHTA does not support one program or another versus another as the only method to build relationships. Our teachers build relationships in 50-minute classes as well as single grade level teams. Our teachers build relationships in extracurricular activities and co-curricular activities. Our teachers build relationships in multi-year programs. As we stated before, it's not the program, it's about the great work that our teachers do in all our schools to build relationships in all academic levels and programs in St. Helena. That said, we have found the majority of teachers have indicated to our SHTA leadership that being a grade level expert would help alleviate many of the demands that the new curriculums and teaching pedagogy present each year. In closing, we appreciate the opportunities to have teacher input during faculty feedback meetings, teacher surveys, parent forums, and electronic communication regarding difficult decisions such as this. Thank you.
I'm on the taller side. Good evening, all. My name is Janelle Rinker, and I'm currently a 4th, 5th grade looping teacher. I've been teaching 4th and 5th grade for a total of 13 years, and because of this, I feel I have a very clear and deep understanding of upper elementary curricula. I keep hearing people say we need to discontinue looping to allow teachers to become curriculum experts. It has been suggested that we can only be experts in a single grade level. I would have to strongly disagree. I do agree, though, that as elementary multi-subject teachers, we need to become content experts, and this can happen at multiple grade levels. However, beyond just the content knowledge, we also need to be experts in Ariana, Lucy, and Johnny. I would argue that knowing my students, knowing their strengths and their weaknesses, their interests, allow me to be a better, more effective teacher. I would remind you that ultimately we do teach students, not just subjects. Just this year, we accelerated 3 third-grade students into 4th grade, 2 of which came into my classroom. As a classroom teacher, my job is to not only address their academic needs, but also their social and emotional needs. For those accelerated students, it's vital to keep them in an established community of learners together as long as possible as they face the challenges ahead. And they learn to interact with students who are a bit older and likely a bit more mature than themselves. Continuing for a 2-year period with the same group of students significantly helps to make this possible. I know the relationship between teacher and students has been highlighted many times, but it's important to note that the relationships that develop between students during this 2-year loop is also critical. Most of these students will continue their academic career for the next 7 years together, and it's vital to the success of each one that they are accepted by their peers and they're integrated into the larger group. In these early years of education, the 2-year loop allows the students the opportunity to feel safe while becoming learners, mentors, and risk takers. It also allows them to build their confidence, and in turn, they become academically successful. As for the students who are academically challenged, the 2-year loop provides a second chance to reach those students. The reasons why students don't reach mastery at any given grade level are varied. They may not have been academically or developmentally ready to reach grade level standards and expectations, or maybe they've had personal issues and challenges outside of school that have kept them from learning. Either way, looping teachers have a great depth of knowledge about each of their students. I understand the board's concern regarding our test scores. My confusion comes from why there's a belief that looping is adversely affecting those scores. I would argue that it is not looping that is causing the scores to drop. It is not a lack of content knowledge. I honestly can't tell you why every school in the state reports a drop in 5th grade. However, I do have my suspicions.
Okay, thank you very much. Nope, I'm sorry. 3 minutes. Next, please.
Did she stand up on the chair? Is that okay?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
I don't think you can see her if she doesn't. You want to go first, Janelle? So these are 2 of my students who spontaneously decided to come to the board meeting this evening because they want to share their opinion. Stand up. You have to talk in here. You can do it. Be brave. I'm proud of you.
Hello, my name is Janelle. I am in 4th grade and I'm 10 years old. I come from the elementary school. I would like to say that we should stay with looping because I imagine we moving to another class and not knowing the rules. Are there or feel nervous? And imagine you don't know if the teacher will give you a lot of homework or no homework. So I think we should stay with looping. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Danette, and I'm in 4th grade, and I'm 10 years old. In my opinion, I think that we should I think we should stay with looping because when you go in a new class and you get scared and all, but when you stay in the same class, you will not be scared. I will feel comfortable because I will already know my teacher. I was with her for 1 year, so imagine you being in a new classroom. How will you feel? I will feel shy and nervous. I won't know what to do. So I think we should stay with looping because if we stay with looping, we will get to know our teacher more better. So we can stay with it. Did I already say it again? Was it that part? We can stay with our teacher, learn more things about my teacher, that is Miss Buchanan. I know that she will do I know that she. What was I going to say? I know that she will. I know that she will know that I will do my best. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for coming here tonight.
So they're not part of my 3 minutes, right?
Nope, but we only got 9 left.
Okay, well, good evening. My name is Terralyn Buchanan of Oak Avenue. I'm a community member as well as a 4-5 looping teacher at St. Helena Elementary. And tonight I'm here because I'm speaking for the students that asked me to come and speak for them. 2 of them spontaneously decided to come tonight, and I am so proud of them showing their civic responsibility and being involved in a local issue. Recently, I've been at the Napa County of Education meeting on our upcoming social studies standards, and I was reminded that we do have part of civic responsibility and encouraging our teachers to have our students to be part of local issues. So as a result, my students asked me, what can we do to let the board know how we feel? I asked them to write letters, and I have 4 of them here for you as well. So I'm compelled, and I stand here before you, to present the 9 and 10-year-old voice. So I'm just going to read one of them and then pass out the rest of them, if that's okay. And this was done outside of school time. Here you go. Outside of school time on their own. So here we go. Hello, Board of Education. In class so far, I've heard that you're planning to discontinue looping. In my opinion, you should continue looping because people will get to know each other better. Students have already become used to the system of their teachers, and you'll be able to express yourself and be challenged with the same teacher. First of all, you should continue looping because people will get to know each other better. In the first year that you have a class of different people, you hardly know each other. During the end of the first year, you know each other better and can communicate well. If looping discontinues, you have to start the process over again to get to know people all over again, which is slightly uncomfortable. Another reason you should continue looping is because students will already have become used to the system of their teachers, as well as expectations and limits of those teachers. Students will also know what days they'll have specials, they won't mix it up and go to Spanish instead of music. Students will already know their teachers' quieting down signals in all the systems such as jobs, partners, where to find certain items like pencils, pens, highlighters, scissors, and more supplies to work with. Lastly, you should continue looping because students can be more expressive and challenged with the same teacher. If you have a teacher 2 years in a row, the teacher will already know your level of reading and writing and math. They will already know what kind of person you are and what you enjoy to do, which will benefit both you and the teacher by giving you an enjoyable school experience and giving your teacher a calm, organized environment to work in as well. In conclusion, the Board of Education should continue looping because students already know each other well, nobody will get mixed up on schedules, and you'll have a better working environment for the next year. Please consider keeping looping. Sincerely, Cozy from room 3.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
6 minutes left.
I'm Ana Canales. I would ask that you close your eyes for 25 of my seconds, please. Remember when your child was coming to St. Helena Primary for that first time. What were your thoughts and questions? I remember each of you as the whole primary teaching staff welcomed you to orientation. Never once did anyone ask, nor did we tell you about test scores. It was about your child. Please keep this thought in your mind as you make decisions tonight based on data. You can open your eyes. The community has been shown many slides of data. When questioned by parents, both Ms. Allen and Dr. Wilson acknowledged that data demonstrates that the English learners and socioeconomic factors make the difference in test scores. It really has nothing to do with looping. We have grown beyond the information age into the relational age. It's not about the information anymore, but the relationships of the people who have the information. Children between the ages of 6 and 10 are developmentally hardwired to learn about relationships outside of their family unit. Why squander this opportunity? Finally, the issue of learning the curriculum for teachers. In my 27 years of teaching, the only time I've taught in a single grade classroom has been within the looping model over the last 8 years. From my perspective, it's both challenging in a good intellectual way and refreshing. At our cutting-edge high school, teachers are teaching across grade levels and subject matter within their field of expertise every day. Everyone teaching at SHPS and at SHES are highly qualified, multiple subject elementary teachers. This is our field of expertise. But it's not about the teachers. It's about the children. So I'm wondering, where were the slides of the children at these parent and community meetings? Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Amy Denny Zuniga. Both of my boys in the school district, one at the primary and one at the elementary school, were in the second year of their loop this year. You heard one of my sons earlier. So I have a few questions. I've been to both of the parent meetings. I didn't get a chance to review the public comment document. I didn't see it online last night. So maybe some of my questions are answered in writing, but I still have questions that I've heard asked at these meetings, and I haven't heard the answers. So I'm not expecting a lot of answers tonight, but I think that they need to be posed. One is, why are professional learning communities and looping necessarily incompatible? I think this has been asked, what proof is there that looping is responsible for the downturn in test scores? What research has been done to indicate that correlation? Doesn't seem plausible to me. I think that there, as has been mentioned, probably other factors. The disasters in 2017 haven't been mentioned tonight, and I think probably play into that. Why in the 70-page document online, it's really comprehensive, is there only one measure other than test scores mentioned about the well-being of our children, the Healthy Kids Survey, and there's actually no data with that. There's just a mention of it. I'm wondering if we're asking some of the wrong questions. Yeah, and I also would challenge the notion that there's been a sufficient community input. In that document presented to you in November, there was no discussion of discontinuing looping, and the first public information that I know of came in February. We've had some parent interaction. As I mentioned, it doesn't really feel sufficient, and the student voices, I think, are being heard this evening for the first time. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Susan Calkin. I'm a retired teacher, administrator, and curriculum developer. And while I agree that when we unpack the data, we'll find something that has nothing to do with looping, but I would also say that from my own experience, looping is a way to allow you to improve those data. In my own experience, when I have looped, it enabled me to target my students and focus those aspects of the curriculum to meet their needs. And through collaborative work with our grade level teams, we were able to do that grade-wise, not just me personally. Numerically, that would save several months of assessment, reintroduction, and you have with this team approach quite a lot of flexibility to deal with specific student needs that would be helped by looping. When I looped, my student scores improved, even if we're assuming that test scores and student achievement and learning are the same thing, which I don't. It even works if you accept those things. So I would urge this district to continue with looping and to look at more creative ways to deal with the demands of various curricula and various grade levels, because there are many other ways to deal with the problems that we seem to be addressing. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time. So 20 minutes has expired in the public comment for trustees. So I'd like to start off with if you have any questions or concerns for these for the recommendations or presentations for our district staff. So of the information that's been put on the screens, along with, of course, anything that's come up before. So more questions in general to clarifications. Trustees, if there's any questions, please.
Well, I don't necessarily have a question, but I have something prepared that I'd like to read.
Okay.
So I don't know if you want that now or...
In a minute.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't have any questions.
No questions about anything that...
Excuse me. I'm sorry that I wasn't on my microphone. I apologize. I don't have any questions. I've delved through the data extensively, and I any questions that I had, I was able to ask Dr. Wilson and Mr. Heller in advance. So I don't have questions.
And I would just like to recall that maybe when I reported out in the February board meeting on the discussion that we held at the Curriculum and Technology Subcommittee, this was discussed, and we all recognized at that meeting that this would be a very emotional and difficult subject to consider, and we really recognized that it was going to be a very, very difficult decision that we would have to make.
Anything, Julio?
I also have a written statement. Okay. Just ready to
All
go.
right. I too have a written statement. I don't have any questions concerning the presentation that was been given by our staff. Thank you very much for that, and thank you very much for your public comments. I want to start back in November, and I'm going to come back to today. But basically, I wanted to give a recap of my statement during the student data study session that was given on November 8th, 2018. It started off with, let me start with the good news, as I see it from this data that we are presented, that we have time to make dramatic academic structural improvements for next year. Our student learning data in 4th, 5th, and grades as a whole is going backwards, causing a loss of learning relative to the educational standards they're supposed to have mastered. I believe there needs to be a thorough review by the educational leaders to come up with a solution, like the Math Task Force did in 2016. Nothing should be left out as an option to improve performance, no matter the parent or the teacher pressures to keep things the way they are, because the data clearly shows what we are doing is not working for most. All decisions need to be made for what is best for our students. Our school board #1 goal is success for all, not for a few. Back in November, from my level, I stated a few open-ended questions. Are we making the best use of every minute of the day? Could daily announcements be stopped and announcements being made be available via email? Do we need to spend 2 or 3 days to review the student handbook at the RLS and family groups? Should we cancel all the field trips? Assemblies? Do we remove looping? What do we need to do to turn around these 3 grades of instruction? I feel there must be an action from within our educational leaders to embrace change and make dramatic improvements because the data warrants it and the students deserve it. The educational leaders and board must enact what is best for our students, no matter how much staff and community pressure is placed on us to keep things the same, because to accept our current standing is unconscionable to me. The great news is we have the time. We have the ability to critically evaluate our current academic programs. We also have the funding to be able to afford any costs associated with program change, and hopefully the desire to enact change to start at the beginning of the 2019 school year. So now I'm going to bring it up to tonight and where I stand. Number 1, 75 to 80% of our TK teachers are in favor of single grade instruction. UC Davis, our educational consultants, TK through 5th grade, has stated that creating a single grade level instruction experts is the best teaching model for today's rigorous California educational standards. These recommendations come and thirdly, is these recommendations come from our educational experts and leaders on how best to tackle these grade levels where scores are going backwards. So for these three reasons stated, I am absolutely in favor of all these recommendations. In addition, a thought I wanted to leave with you is what is required for critical gateways of the educational mastery needed by the end of the third and fourth grades, shared to me by Mary Allen, Director of Curricular Instruction. A student being able to read at or above grade level by the end of third grade ensures they're on track for required comprehension needed to attend a four-year university. Also, a student that is at or above grade level in their understanding of mathematics by the end of fourth grade directly correlates to their ability to attend upper-level mathematics courses in high school, which also gives them the opportunity to attend a four-year university. This resonates to me because of the following example of the 2018 UC Davis freshman profile that was handed out to me last week, actually not to me, to my wife, at the 11th grade college information night at high school. The middle of the class, so UC Davis current student 2018, that is the 25th to 75th percentile, had the following GPA range: 3.97 to 4.25. An SAT reading and writing of 600 to 700, SAT math of 620 to 780. While we're educating the whole child, we need to ensure they have educational opportunities for advancement in the future. Our children will be competing with the brightest students from all over the world to attend excellent schools like UC Davis. That is my overriding concern and desire, that every child in our school district is given the tools and the chances to compete post-high school. That was my comment. Any other trustees wish to share?
Okay. This was written at 4 a.m., so just in case anybody was thinking we were not giving this any thought, I can guarantee you this has been given a lot of thought. Two responsibilities of a school board is oversight and accountability. In regards to success for all students, board oversight, in my opinion, includes review of academic growth, to be able to see results that staff is doing all that can be done to promote and achieve academic success for all. The current board and the boards before us have supported and approved funding for multiple requests that have come before it, to support academic success of all students, particularly in the area of mathematics. I would think that our community members could understand why board members might feel, given the board's support time and again, the need to get answers to the incremental academic progress and perhaps stalling achievement we see, particularly in the lower grades. So with this in mind, I think it's understandable that the district and the board would look at all curriculum aspects and instructional methods in our schools to see where the challenges might be and where potential improvements can be made. More importantly, I see the accountability piece and question that needs to be asked for the current situation that we're in. Who do we as a board believe to be accountable for the current data showing achievement moving downward and or staying stagnant, and how long are we to wait until progress is gained? These are just general questions for thought. Parents of TK5 students may not be concerned with testing and test results at present, but will you be able to say the same things for grades 6 through 12? And will those families remain content with no show of academic progress? Questions I believe are important to keep in mind as you and your students move through our school system. It is important to remember that as a governing board, we have a responsibility to ensure success for all students, and that includes ensuring staff is providing rigor and quality instruction along with meeting and or exceeding the merits of the job they are paid to do. If looping as an instructional method is viewed to not be a factor for lack of academic growth, then I'm left to ask, what else should we be looking at? Is it ineffective delivery of the curriculum? Is it ELD student population? Which, by the way, at the elementary school is not as significant as you may think it is. Out of 238 students, 49 of those are classified as ELD learners, which is just a little over 15 students per grade level. If mastering 2 grades of curriculum is deemed not hard to do, then what should we be examining to provide answers for our results? Personally, I'm not convinced looping is the sole culprit to what is happening. I'm also not entirely convinced that within the most recent data we are looking at, that it reflects the entire picture of the makeup of students and other factors that might go into test taking and subsequent test results. Hang on, I need a glass of water. I would also like to comment that I feel it is imperative to the benefit of all of our students that regardless of what side of the looping debate you stand on, you come together for the good of our students and work together as a team. Candidly, I don't see single grade instruction as an easier version of a teaching job. I think it highly unfair, actually, to characterize that group as people who are looking for an easy way to perform their jobs. We have very dedicated teaching staff in our district across all 4 of our schools. Should looping remain, I want to know what staff members will commit to doing to improve those challenges facing our students. There must be collaboration and improvement. I want to know what accountability looks like so that all of our students benefit. In the many conversations I've had in the last few weeks regarding looping and how it is a unique attribute in attracting and retaining current and potential families, I'd like to offer my rebuttal to the voiced concerns recently in our community that we are losing families in droves. To provide fact, our enrollment is at an all-time high, and we have more families on the waiting list than we have space. Our schools are desired places to be, and rightly so. There are many things to champion about our schools. In closing, I do not support eliminating looping, for I am not entirely aligned that doing so is going to change outcomes and the accountability factor. What I do support is improved and better accountability at the school sites. I'm not voting to keep looping because the data doesn't concern me, because it does. I just don't think it's the sole reason to eliminate it.
Let me first start off by saying thank you to all the community, parents, school district staff, and teachers. There's no question in my mind that every parent wants what is best for their child, and being in a small community should allow us to want what is best for all children. Looping has been one of those topics with many parents, staff, and teachers being involved in the conversation and all sharing valid points of view. For me, attending the K-12 system in the district as a student, also participating as a parent of 3 currently in the district, and now serving as a board member has provided invaluable perspective and appreciation in regards to our children's education. Clearly, teaching and learning methods have evolved since our time, and students now are able to better develop key skills such as collaboration, critical thinking, and problem solving. Our teachers, especially in this district, are doing so much more to prepare our children to be successful in the future, not only academically, but socially and emotionally. My decision was heavily based on 2 key points. 1, let's do what is best for all children. And 2, let's provide the best tools and resources to our teachers to educate and prepare our children for a successful future. Teachers' roles and responsibilities are complex, and a fundamental responsibility is preparing their students to be successful in the following academic year. I also strongly feel that there needs to be a balance between the content they are learning and other important skills they are developing, such as communication, problem solving, flexibility, creativity, and collaboration. As you may or may not know, the California Common Core standards are complex and build upon each other. This system remains relatively new and not without its challenges. The requirements for a non-looping teacher are to teach 5 curriculums, along with many other responsibilities, which is already a tall task. A looping teacher in comparison is required to master 10 curriculums, which is double the workload. I realize that there are teachers willing to take on this great challenge. However, a survey showed that 80% of the TK through 5th grade teachers and both principals support the shift to a single grade format. The consensus was that shifting to a single grade format would provide more time for teachers to address and evaluate the child in a more holistic manner, including academically, socially, and emotionally. Furthermore, data was obtained from the CASP and shared during a community meeting, which demonstrated declining scores. These results are not a direct indicator, but they are a valid metric to consider. In addition, further data was provided by Mary Allen, the Director of Curriculum and Instruction, which were the MAP test results for the last few years. The MAP is a test designed to assess growth in academic performance. It allows for teachers to focus on continued growth for each individual child by being able to pinpoint areas that need improvement or need further challenge. The results indicated that looping grades were not reaching the levels of growth expected by the district. These findings show me that the looping model is not performing as expected. I would agree that test scores are not the end-all be-all, but they are a vital metric for any education system that is merit-based such as ours. The TK through 5th grades are crucial in building the learning foundation for our students to be ready, confident, and successful in middle school and high school. Excellent points have been made for keeping the looping format and the benefits it may bring, which I have taken into consideration. However, they are based on a major assumption that all teachers are performing at the same level, which is not likely. I 100% believe that we have some of the best and committed teachers around, but I also need to be realistic about that assumption. Therefore, the tangible data carries more weight in my decision. If there were data indicating the contrary, my decision could very well differ. Finally, our teachers play an invaluable and critical role to the development of our children. And currently the work being done with WestEd, UC Davis, and building the PLC, or professional learning communities at our schools, is creating a new sense of collaboration, and complex work is being done with our teachers at each grade level. Our teachers know our children's strengths and weaknesses, are the education experts, and have their best interests. Therefore, as a community, we should lean into their feedback and perspective on the issue. I am confident and trust our teachers will be able to continue to inspire young learners and in the process continue to build meaningful relationships within an academic year. Given these findings and research I've done independently, I've concluded that shifting back to a single grade format and discontinuing the looping practice at this time is in the best interest of all children. Thank you.
I have a written statement as well, if you don't mind. That's fine. I have prepared this statement this evening's meeting in order to help me keep me focused on the agenda item and to hopefully cast a bit of light on how we got to where we are now. I know from the presentations that I attended, the emails that I have received, and from meeting with those that have reached out to me, that this is an emotional topic and one that our school community is very passionate about. I also know that we as trustees are wrestling with what is the right thing to do for all students. For those who may not know me, my sons were in the multi-age program from kindergarten through 5th grade. My youngest son was in a 5th grade MAP class when the 3 programs were discontinued in 2011. That was the last year of the single grade, multi-age, and dual immersion programs. It was a unanimous vote by the board to change the 3 programs into a single unified grade program. It was a unanimous vote by the board to discontinue the 3 programs, and I was on the board at that time. There were several reasons the 3 programs were changed to a single grade program. There was inequity in the classrooms. There were site scheduling challenges, and there was a significant decline in the STAR API scores throughout the district, thus causing a ripple effect of decline in almost every grade throughout our small district. As I reflect back, I remember I was so very sad because the MAP program was the right fit for my sons, and I know from many other families as well. I also knew many dual immersion families, and it was just as difficult for them. But I don't regret my vote because it was the right thing to do for the students at that time. Some background. I actually thought that there was going to be more parents here at this meeting, and I've heard a lot of things about kind of how it all works and things. So that's just a little bit of a background I was thinking. Some background. The STAR testing was discontinued in 2013 and was replaced with the California Assessment to Student Performance and Progress, or the CASP. The primary purpose of the CASP is to assist teachers, administrators, students, and parents by promoting high-quality teaching and learning through the use of a variety of assessment approaches. In addition to the change in testing criteria, there was also the implementation of the Common Core Standards, which are a set of high-quality academic standards in mathematics and English language arts. The learning goals outline what a student should know and be able to do at the end of each grade. The standards were created to ensure that all students graduate from high school with the skills and knowledge necessary to succeed in college, career, and life. 2015 was the baseline year of the CASP test from which to measure future progress. We have used that year as a baseline for our student testing as well. And in that regard, the site principals have presented the CASP data each year along with other multiple measures. In addition to the standard-based testing, we are required to submit an annual LCAP report, which is a mandatory document acting as a tool for local school districts to set goals, plan actions, and leverage resources to meet those goals to improve student outcomes. So basically, there are many balls in the air, and everything that we do as a district, we must have student achievement and positive student outcomes in the forefront of our conversations. In addition to an LCAP report each month at our board meeting, our principals and district staff presents a variety of student information to our board on an annual basis. When we were presented the LCAP score data at our annual student achievement meeting last November, we all struggled with what was presented, and we asked our district administration, what can we do as a district to improve student outcomes? In my opinion, our district has seen many very positive changes since our decision in 2011. But unfortunately, in several cases, the student outcomes are decreasing rather than increasing, as one would expect. I know that every one of us in this room cares about our students, and these type of conversations are so difficult. Regardless of what may transpire tonight or next month, if there was a vote next month, we all must come together and do what is right for students. They are our future, and they deserve the very, very best that we can give them. I didn't actually write down my thoughts about where I was on how I felt about this, because I wanted to wait to hear from more tonight. But because of my experience as a MAP parent and have students in the MAP program, I'm very much an advocate of looping. I appreciate the relationships that our teachers have with the students. I don't believe that other teachers don't have those relationships, but I think that the relationship is such that it's for a student it's inviting for them to come back to the same teacher. Therefore, I am an advocate of looping, and I would like to see it continue with accountability measures put in place.
So this has been a really difficult time for us as board members. I've spoken to a number of the teachers. I've spoken to community members. I've spoken to parents in Safeway and gotten their feedback. It's a difficult time for all of us. What it came down to for me was that are we truly using critical thinking that is required or emotional thinking? So I really never learned critical thinking from American schools. I learned it when I went to Europe because we still do not really employ critical thinking in many American processes. We're talking about it here at the school board. Every time that we meet, that we want our students to have critical thinking, but critical thinking is questioning beliefs that you cling to emotionally. You have to look at data, you have to look at other factors, you have to really question why you believe what you believe, and you have to be willing to change your beliefs if the data or the facts do not meet your beliefs. So when I look at our math scores that we're not meeting 64% of our students' needs in math at 5th grade, I see that as 64% of our students are not going to be eligible for high-quality STEM jobs in the future in our economy and in college. So for me, my child did benefit from looping. I do cling to it emotionally, but at the same time, I want to accept the recommendation of our two principals and almost 80% of our staff that wants to go to a single grade system.
Okay, at this time, looks like we have a majority who are ready to render a decision. So is there a motion to approve all TK5 programming and looping recommendations as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no.
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 Let the vote be 3-2. It is passed. Tell you what, why don't we take a break for 5 minutes and we'll come back. Thank you.
We've been insulted enough by this community.
I'm okay, I'll just stay here. I don't want to go.
So you're the new group of sixth graders that we're really here. It's just random.
This is one of the worst ones.
Hey, what's up?
What you doing, Heller?
Just getting some water.
See, I'm gonna do that. She did it.
Bacon in that, you know. With bacon.
Thank you for coming up. I appreciate you saying that.
You're welcome. Thank you, ladies. Not easy, I know. Yeah, you too. Gotta go find a ride home. Yeah. Do you want to use my car? No. Are you sure? I just
Nobody's staying?
I know. It was like,
I know. Brendan,
Right.
Just to get to
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
I was praying for a 24-hour free bug.
that? Yeah. You're like leaving 10 years. What is this? I'm only retired. What did I do that for? I just put it up.
Oh, it is? Oh, I'm sorry. A hug for mom. Let's give a hug for mom. No, let's just add some more emotional.
Okay, we've got all the players back. All right. Okay, so I'm going to call this meeting back to order. We've now lost everybody except for two. So, trustees, I want to commend you on your thought. Oops, are we not on? Are we on? Okay. Anyway, I want to thank the trustees for your thoughtful. I know all of us. It's a very challenging and sleepless nights and not eating well and all those kinds of things when we make tough decisions. And I appreciate everybody doing their part to make the decisions made, and I appreciate that.
Thank you.
We are on to item number 10, Human Resources, consideration approval of Sunshine proposal for St. Helena Unified School District to CSEA number 287. This is Mr. Chris Heller.
Yes, it is. Thank you. So if you recall, last month the board received the initial proposal for negotiations to the collective bargaining agreement for CSEA Chapter 287, which will expire in June 30th of 2019.
Wait a minute. What did we miss? Excuse me.
Oh, no, yay.
Okay, never mind.
Sorry.
Mr. Heller, if you'll continue, please. We had a little agenda conflict, but
Okay.
it's been resolved.
All right. Where was I?
Okay, so we're talking about
no, I got
proposal.
it. I'm good. No changes have been made to the initial proposal, and we would welcome any public input before we request that the board make approval so we could begin the negotiating process. It's also important for the board and the community to note that we do not have CSEA's initial sunshine proposal at this time, and we'll hopefully have that in April to begin the negotiation process with them late April, early May. So we would ask for your approval.
Thank you very much. Is there any public comment on this? Trustees, any questions or comment on the sunshine?
I do not.
Is there a motion to approve the sunshine proposal for St. Helena Unified School District to CSEA number 287 as presented?
I'll make that proposal.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. We are on to item 10B, which is request for approval of contract amendment number 5 for Ms. Andrea Stubbs, Chief Business Official. Dr. Mary Lou Wilson, please.
It is with great pleasure that I bring forward this contract amendment to you this evening. And if we just recall over the last couple of years, the audits with no findings and an audit with a single finding, we can easily define our chief business official, who not only takes very good care of our finances, she also oversees our facilities and our maintenance and technology, and I could go on and on and on. Truly, someone who strives every day to be the very best that she can be, comes to work with a growth mindset, and really wants to be that 12-star employee. This contract amendment would extend Ms. Stubbs' contract for 3 years, and it is with great pleasure that I recommend approval at this time.
Is there any public comment? Trustees, any questions or comments?
You left out her well-highlighted documents that she passes out for easy review. So thank you. Well-deserved. We are beyond grateful and lucky to have you.
Thank you for everything.
And I'd like to make a comment that 36 months in the world of administration of schools, I think that says how much we like what you're doing for us. And if there's anything you can take away, it's the confidence that we want you here. So thank you for being here. Is there a motion to approve contract amendment number 5 from Ms. Andrea Stubbs, Chief Business Official, as presented?
I would be happy to make a motion to approve contract amendment number 5 for Andrea Stubbs, Chief Business Official.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. We're on to item number 10C, which is request for approval of contract amendment for number 4 from Mr. Christopher James Heller, Chief Academic Human Resources Officer. Dr. Mary Lou Wilson, please.
Yes, that's me also. Yeah, we're not going to have him present his own item.
No.
Mr. Heller has been with us now for almost 3 full years, and in his title, while it's difficult to say, it's also difficult to provide the services that Chris provides for us. Not only does he oversee our academic programs, he's also overseeing human resources. And on a daily basis, he absolutely comes to work with a smile and an excitement about what's going to happen. He said to me, I can't remember if it was today or yesterday, I never know what's going to happen in my job every day. And I like that. I like that about my work. Chris has hit home runs, made many touchdowns, gets a basket every time with his work all around. the Math Task Force, the English Language Development Committee. He is really committed to being out on our campuses, getting to know our teachers and our students and all of our employees, and making sure that every day everyone is on their game. It is with great pleasure that I recommend at this time Mr. Heller's contract be extended for 3 years as well.
Okay, somebody has to do public comment after that one. No? Nobody's going to stand up and try? No way. Oh! There we go. From the crowd, it was said, should be a slam dunk. Okay, trustees, any questions or comments?
Only pun was not only does he wear a lot of different hats, he wears a lot of different ties. So
and socks.
Yeah.
And socks.
But no, I would absolutely agree with those comments as well. We're again very lucky and grateful to have you here. So thank you.
Thank you.
I, too, also want to point out that it is a 36-month contract, which also means the same thing, and we really appreciate your time at the district and making a difference for our kids. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And for me, I don't like surprises any day I'm at work. And so you have a different job, and so if that might be exciting to you, not exciting to me at all. All I ever do is plan for no
Your
surprises.
surprises are very different than mine, than
Right.
your job.
Yes, they are. Anyway, back to the fun of it all. Is there a motion to approve contract amendment number 4 for Christopher James Heller, Chief Academic Human Resources Officer, as presented?
I will make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Consideration of approval to replace the 1 FTE maintenance specialist position, salary range 116, with a 1.0 FTE maintenance specialist senior position, salary range 120. That is going to be Miss Andy Stubbs, please.
Thank you. And last year, the board approved adding a full-time HVAC specialist position. And so we posted that and recruited for it, and were not able to develop a qualified candidate pool. And so we came back to the board in September of 2018 and requested that the board consider replacing that position with a maintenance specialist, an entry-level maintenance position. And so once again, we posted it. We tried to recruit pretty heavily, but we were unable to establish a qualified applicant pool, and so we were coming back to the board another time to request that you consider approving replacing that position with a maintenance specialist senior position. So that would be the same level as the other maintenance specialist senior that we have, 1 FTE, so it would be 2 FTE. And then we also have a maintenance specialist senior lead. And so we do feel that with this higher skill set and the higher compensation, we'll be able to be more successful in terms of recruiting and finding a qualified candidate. This would require an increased cost. Depending on the years of experience, the increased cost would be $12,574 to $18,073, including benefits. And so I would be able to absorb that within the 2018 general fund budget without and still retaining a balanced budget, and you would see that cost reflected in our estimated actuals when I bring the original 2019-20 budget to the board for review in June.
Thank you. Any public comment on this agenda item? Trustees, any questions or comments?
No, other than is your gut telling you that doing this will indeed increase your pool?
I do. I think this is probably our best chance. It was hard. It's been hard to fill the other two positions.
Right.
The economy's good now, and geographically we're in a challenging area, but I think that this will do the trick.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Is there a motion to approve the replacement of the 1.0 FTE maintenance specialist position with a 1.0 FTE maintenance specialist senior position as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Motion carried. We're on to item 10E, consideration of approval of the advancement via individual determination, AVID, multi-tiered system of support, MTSS job description. Mr. Chris Heller, please.
Thank you. The board may recall back in December we've had discussions around the part-time AVID positions that were maintained in our district, and we had discussions about that, about the need for consistent daily attendance on a daily basis to support our students in both programs at RLS and the high school. The board provided direction for staff to create a job description that matched that requirement, and within the AVID job description, we also included the multi-tier systems of support to provide that extra support not only in the AVID program, but throughout as an instructional support person on the campus for both RLS and the high school. The job description has been reviewed and approved by CSEA through their 610 process, and it has been at the field office and also approved by our local membership here in St. Helena by Chapter 287. So if approved, 2 postings would be created, and these positions would work in tandem, traveling between RLS and the high school and working in support of one another. And we would post that position later this month and complete the hiring requirements to make sure to onboard the employees by the 2019-2020 school year. So I'd ask for your approval this evening of these for this job description.
Thank you. Is there any public comment? Trustees, any questions or comments?
Are they going to be open internally first, or is it going to be
internal, external? We would be
internal,
looking,
external.
Yeah.
And just a comment, I know that it's not typically the process, but I would have thought that it might have been a nice gesture to have the current AVID teachers look at this, but it's not necessarily something they did, correct?
Both, good evening again.
Hello.
Both AVID coordinators for the high school as well as the coordinator at the middle school level were not told, but we had a conversation in reference to the AVID tutor position as well as the MTSS position. In reference to the job description, Mr. Heller can talk a little bit about the requirements behind a job description.
Right. I was just wondering, just because they're the people who work with these potential tutors that are now, it's not going to be a tutor so much anymore, but I just was just a comment. I'm not trying to micromanage the situation at all. Just wanted to put it out there.
I'd just also like to point out that given the timing of the approval process by CSEA, it would be difficult for us to have a draft document that was out and about because they have not had an opportunity to approve it internally. So we were being mindful about that and respectful to make sure that their process was complete. And as you know, the timing was very tight on that. So, yeah.
I just want to say that they have seen it as of today, and they have commented on it. And we did have conversations prior to the actual job description being written as far as what they would like in a job description.
Any other comments or questions from the trustees? Is there a motion to approve the AVID MTSS job description as presented?
I motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Motion's carried. We're on to the consent agenda, item number 11. Are there any items that any member of the board would like to pull to look at?
Well, question, I'm wondering, since I was not at the February 14th board meeting, would it be appropriate to pull that off because I wasn't in attendance? I don't know, just procedurally, if that's something.
I don't know. Well, actually, if the other trustees, I don't know. Go ahead.
Procedurally, yes. If you're not at the meeting, then you would not be approving the minutes.
Okay.
Right.
So I can pull item A off the consent agenda.
Okay. Then we'll just vote on it afterwards. Okay. Anything else? Is there a motion to approve consent agenda as written with the exception of item A?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of the board on February 14th, 2019?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you for that clarification.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You knew I was looking at you for that,
right? We are on to item number 12, Business and Operations, 2019-20 Draft Budget Assumptions, second board review. Ms. Sandy Stubbs, please.
Thank you. And this draft of the budget assumptions was most recently reviewed by the Budget Committee on February 20th of this year, and we've just got a couple of highlighted changes for you that you haven't seen yet. This is the first one on page 8, and what this does is it moves our placeholder for kind of the next evolution of our ILEP program as a set aside in the fund balance to an above the line account item. And so the board had directed staff to ensure that we had innovative learning spaces a couple of years ago to support our students. And so out of that was born the 2-year Innovative Learning Environment Project program, which was a pilot. And so we've learned a lot from that, and with approval of these budget assumptions in June, and then also additionally the second interim later tonight, which we'll talk about, the board will be authorizing us to set aside $150,000 a year to support our ongoing Future Ready Classrooms program, which will help our teachers to redesign their classroom spaces based on best practices in their pedagogy. So we're really excited about that, and we'll be bringing more details to the board at a later time. And then there's another highlighted section, I think a couple of pages down. Oh. And so this would be the fund balance, the assigned set aside. So we've taken, what we've done here is with the governor's proposal for 2019-20, there is a one-time buy down of the STRS employer cost, and so the governor is attempting in his state budget to help employers deal with the increased cost of STRS and PERS, and so we don't need quite as much set aside in the out years to offset those expenses. And so after having done the calculations for beyond the multi-year projection, we can have a budget of about $50,000 set aside in the fund balance. And so I believe that those are the 2 items that were new for this year, for this round of the budget assumptions.
Thank you. Is there anyone who wishes to publicly comment? Trustees, any questions or comments? Thank you, as always, for keeping us up to date in these changes. Next is approve the 2018-19 second interim report. Ms. Andy Stubbs, please. What's that?
So this would be our second financial report for 2018-19, and I'm pleased to say that we'll be able to file a positive certification for this year, which means that we're able to demonstrate solvency for the current and subsequent 2 fiscal years. And so the second interim report includes all the changes since November 1st, 2018 through January 31st, 2019. Oops. This table here summarizes the change to the fund balance, and so you can see that we've had some increase in revenue and expenditures, and most of that is in state revenue, which we'll talk about in a little bit, and then local revenue, so booking local donations as we receive them, and expenditures associated with those local donations. You can also see that we have a positive contribution to the fund balance here in the pink, with a slight decrease since what we were projecting at first interim, but still definitely a balanced budget for 18-19. And so this is another summary table that shows changes to revenue. And so as I mentioned before, the biggest changes would be in state revenue and local revenue. You can see some of the detail here, some very small changes. What we do between financial reporting is we still go through every single line item and update all of our budgets. But since our December 1st interim report, we don't have many changes for our local revenue sources are federal, but we did have some changes to state revenue. Earlier this evening, we learned about the Low Performing Student Support Grant, which is a one-time grant, and so we've now budgeted for that, and then later you'll see the expenses budgeted also. In addition to that grant, the governor's 2018-19 enacted state budget included a one-time grant for classified employee professional development, and so we're looking at the conditions of that grant and preparing to spend that to support our classified employees. And then we had some other changes, as you can see, to state revenue that were small adjustments to lottery budgets and so forth. And then for local revenue, we've received some additional donations and scholarships, and so we booked those as received. And also some E-rate, which is our telecommunications discount. We got some reimbursement funds there. This slide here summarizes the changes to expenditures since our first interim report. And so you can see we've got some, for a budget this size, we've got some small changes, and most of them would be in services and operating associated with some of the grants and one-time expenditure, one-time revenues that you saw previously. And so this time of year, we're able to begin adjusting our personnel budgets. As we move towards the end of the year, we're able to reduce budgets for supplemental pay and substitute pay and so forth, and additional periods that might have been set aside for intervention and things. And then along with that, we were able to make some adjustments to employee benefits. And then with our open enrollment period having closed, we now know who has changed to medical plans and so forth, and so we were able to make some adjustments there. And then you can see how we're now booking some of the one-time expenditures for those donations with some increases to books and supplies and services and operating expenses. And then we talked a little bit about the Future Ready Classrooms program when we talked about the budget assumptions. And so currently we have a balance of about $50,000 with our a two-year ILEP program balance, and so for the current year we've increased that budget by $100,000 so that we could have a budget of $150,000 for our first what we're calling early adopter group. So we're going to be working with a group of teachers from the high school and engaging in a collaborative process with them, and we'll be sharing more details about that with the board at a later date. And so this is a multi-year projection, so you can see the figure, the surplus to the general fund of the $491,862 in the pink there for 18-19. And then one of the reasons that that surplus is fairly large is due to approximately $220,000 of one-time revenue that was in the 18-19 budget that the governor granted school districts. But that then goes away in 1920 and 2021, and so that's why you see the surplus decrease a little bit, but yet we still have a balanced budget in all 3 years with a surplus that meets the and exceeds the reserve requirement. Our reserves are about 23.5%. And then the next couple of tables show some of the assumptions that go into the multi-year projection, our property taxes and so forth. So compared with 17-18, for example, our property taxes increased by 6.43%. Our rule by virtue of the budget committee is that we budget for 3% in the out years. And then with the last time that you saw the budget assumptions, we talked about the governor's buy down of STRS for 2019-20 and also a little bit for 2021. So that's why those were not highlighted again in the budget assumptions, but I put them here to demonstrate that relief that the state is providing school districts with those ongoing costs. And then also an important thing to point out, at the bottom there, you can see that there's a transfer in and out from Fund 17 into the general fund, and the reason for that is that the board had approved 2-year retirement incentives for both certificated and classified retirees. And those retirement incentives, we determined we wanted to pay off in one lump sum to avoid 7.5% interest. And so the total cost for those is about $740,000. If we transfer $400,000 from Fund 17, which is our special reserve in 1920, then we can pay off all of that in one lump sum and still have a balanced budget in 1920. And then we can replenish Fund 17 the following year and still have a balanced general fund budget. So that's kind of the strategy there, in particular avoiding that hefty interest bill. And then this table here shows our assigned reserves. So this would be those set-asides in our savings account, if you will, that we want to make sure we always have established as not spendable money. And so when I come back to the board with my original budget for 1920, then you'll see that adjustment to the STRS and PERS increase. I didn't quite capture that decrease to the $50,000 in time for this this particular presentation. So we'll see some adjustments to this at the next reporting period. And then we've got a couple of more tables that talk about our other funds. Our facilities committee met last night and heard details in particular about our deferred maintenance fund and also developer fees and our special reserve for capital outlay. And so the board will be hearing some information about some upcoming capital projects that will come out of those fund balances. And so finally, we've got a brief outline of some of the next steps that you can expect with budgeting. And the governor's May revision will be coming out soon. And we will have the public hearing for our 2019-20 budget in April, followed by consideration of approval in June. And so with that, I would ask the board to consider approving the 2018-19 second interim report.
Thank you very much. Since there's no one in the room, we'll go ahead and go with the trustees. Any questions or comments? Is there a motion to approve the 2018-19 second interim report?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Motion carries. We're on to item number C, which is request for approval of contracts over $25,000. Ms. Sandy Stubbs, please.
Thank you. And this first item for Blackboard, and actually it's Blackboard Communications is I believe the official name of the company now. You'll notice that the amount is $23,500, which is below our usual $25,000 threshold for contracts that come to the board as an action item. And the reason for that is twofold. We wanted first to showcase for the board that we're making this change from Ed Networks as our website host to Blackboard Communications, and then the ongoing cost will be approximately $4,200 a year for the web hosting, the annual renewal fees, and then also the addition of a mobile application that we're excited about. And so in that sense, then the contract will exceed $25,000. And so we are busy preparing for pending board approval, getting ready for implementation and making the move from Ed Networks to Blackboard. And so we're very excited about that. The second is with SonicNet LLC, and the district participates in E-rate, which is a discount plan for school districts for telecommunications. And so we get very heavily discounted telecommunication services, which is great. We've had a long-standing contract with AT&T for cabling and for network services, which is coming due now. And so our E-rate consultant helped us go out to bid, and we got some great pricing back from SonicNet on what they call dark fiber cabling. It's a new, or it was a new tech term that I learned about. And I know what it means, and I could tell you, but I don't want to hold things up anymore. But the change to the dark fiber will result in a one-time cost of $50,000 to install the cabling, but we can spread that over 4 years with no interest. The net we'll realize some net savings compared with our current contracts. And so I don't anticipate that we'll have to increase the budget, so I'm happy about that. And then finally, we have a contract amendment with our agreement with Up Valley. They were able to procure a Spanish-speaking counselor, and so we've added some time to make sure that we can offer Spanish-speaking counseling services for our students. And I think that our current budget will likely absorb some of the additional $10,000 cost, but we would like to increase that cost by $10,000 just in case. And so with that, I would ask the board to consider approving these contracts over $25,000.
Is there a motion to approve the contracts over $25,000? Oh, sorry. Is there any questions? Sorry, guys.
I'm just curious, is the website going to look different, or is it going to look the same pretty much?
We looked at a variety of different templates, and we found one that I think is going to be, it'll look a little bit different, but I think better, some of the different components.
And I had one question on the Spanish-speaking counselor. Is that the hours would be across all school sites?
That would go to serve, I think, any students that are seeking. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Is there a motion to approve the contracts over $25,000?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion's carried. We're on to board member reports. Item number 13 on communications. Miss Lisa Pelosi with a full house.
I know.
Go ahead.
And I'm just like, to talk again is like, woof. Okay, so I had the privilege of going to the primary school this week, and what I decided to make my focus on was to go visit the specials. So I went and visited first the second grade Spanish class, 24 students, and that is a large size only because it's a class and a half that comes in. But it was great. It was a great classroom. The kids were very engaged. Ms. Torres spoke Spanish the entire time. And of course, all the supplemental materials on in the classroom walls and whatnot were all in Spanish. She had them engage in sentence building in Spanish, and some of them answered in Spanish, some of them answered in English. But I thought it was very good to see that in person. I was happy to see that. And then I followed it up the next day with kindergarten music with Miss Condilis, and boy, that was really cute. Again, a lot of students in there, because it's a combined specials of like one class and then a half of another. There may have even been two classes in that, but at least there were like 30 students in that. And basically the focus, they have a social objective was listening. There is a learning objective, which was memorizing, and then vocabulary words related to music, for example, echo. And then that was demonstrated with either physical movement, song, a little game, and then they worked on partner skill building. But again, they were very welcoming. They wanted to make sure I was watching everything that they did, and I was. So it was really sweet, because we don't get that at home anymore, right? So it's really nice. I'm like, I see you, you see me. And then today I followed it up by going to visit first grade PE classes. And that had about 23 students in that. And again, it was basically based on listening skills, correct, right? Can you follow the directions of what's happening in an obstacle course? Hand-eye exercises with a little racket and a ball and trying to balance and bounce and things like that. Following directions, big, obviously, and then, using catchphrases like healthy choices and what's good for, little catchphrase the teachers would get hit the kids to repeat. And so that was great. And I think it's, as we well know, it's really important for those little guys to move because they like to move. So that's my report. It's all very good going on over there. And I also had the privilege of going into Mrs. Canales' room and reading the Read Across America and doing a Dr. Seuss book, which was really a great experience as well. It was well attended, lots of parents, and actually Jeannie was in that room as well. So thank you for the opportunity.
Wonderful. We are on to 13B, which is Superintendent Subcommittee committee reports. So just as a reminder, a lot of these budget items have already come up. So if there's anything new that needs to be added on the committee, kind of far-ranging, if you'd share that with the rest of the board, I appreciate it. So the first is budget committee. Jeannie, Lisa, who wants to draw a straw?
Well, I was significantly tardy to that meeting, so I don't
think
want to put
Jeannie
the pressure on Jeannie, but she was there before I was.
So Budget Committee was on February 20th. It was, a lot of the conversation was about the future-ready classrooms and kind of how people, the rest of the group felt about future-ready classrooms. And it sounds like this is going to be coming back to us, so I'll leave it at that. But it was very interesting. Everyone was very supportive of future-ready and having it start at the high school. So. Yeah, that was good.
Okay, Monrovia group.
So that group was on February.
Is this going to be the Jeannie report?
I think it sounds like it's going to be. I'll make it short, I promise. Okay. February 21st. The city of St. Helena was there. Mayor Ellsworth was there, and it was a delight to meet him and kind of see what his thoughts are about him moving forward, with the city and all of the things that are going on. The Culinary Institute of America was there, and he shared with us the construction that's going to be. He's crossing his fingers that will be soon happening. They're reconstructing the kitchens, so it's. If I remember correctly, they're very outdated, and it's time for them to change. And when they renovate, they're going to keep the kitchens open, and they'll just section off areas of the culinary as they do their renovations and things.
So will it look like our CTE building?
Better.
No, as good. I hope. Well, I hope it is.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
ours outclasses them by a lot.
Yeah, exactly. No, it'll be great, and they're really excited about that. Oh, and also a wine. Oh, a wine masters class. They're starting that as well, and that's going to start in the fall. So, and I think it's right now. Maybe they're looking at. I think maybe 12 students right now to kind of get us to the kickoff on that one. The St. Helena Chamber of Commerce was there, just talking about all of the things that are going on, with them. Julio was there with the St. Helena Preschool for All, and then also Jenny of App Valley Family Center. So we just all got reacquainted and kind of saw the things that were happening within our community.
Okay, next we had the Board Policy Committee met February 22nd. Maria, do you want to...
I'm sorry, we pretty much covered everything in the policy vote that we had. We basically, those meetings, we read through the policies and you get to see them.
And also we went into detail about the AR 51-117.1, which I think everybody's kind of starting to memorize now. And kind of the plan of attack with the attorney and what the upcoming, so kind of laying out how we're trying to deal with the timing, and we'll all be part of that. So it's just that's what was the other thing that was on there. Preschool for All. Jeannie.
So our meeting was on Monday?
March 11th.
On March 11th, thank you very much. It was on Monday, March 11th. And we are at the phase where we are discussing our business plan. We're presenting our business plan to our large donor on March 27th. So we're just preparing for that. Great. Yes. And if you want to talk about budget, I'm happy to talk about the budget. Facilities, I mean. I'm sorry, unless you want to. No, you go ahead.
Very quickly, some spoiler alerts out there because those are always fun. We're looking at replacing some sections of the roof of the 300 wing, almost specifically Brandon Farrell's room that has a large barrel to collect the water that has come through. So yeah, he's got it the worst. So they're looking into that, and it's the duct that's actually leaking. So it's where that is. So as always, warm, safe, and dry. Trying to make sure that the dry part is contained, and we'll get that. The other is our vintage hall roof, and there was the committee looked at 4 or 5 different levels of tile replacement for the roof. If you look at the vintage hall roof, which I honestly had not looked at in probably 5 years at least, you will notice moss growing all over the thing. So and they're basically, the consultant came, said it's failing, it's delaminate, something, and it's coming apart. And so right now we've had a tile that has slid off the roof. So we are looking at mitigating all that, and something to come up, more money, but we're going to do it right. So anything I missed there, Ms. Stubbs? What's that? Oh, and also the primary school play structures. We're looking into replacement of those, and surprisingly, the costs were incredibly affordable. So we don't know what is going on there. It was like weird numbers, and yeah, I mean, so if indeed that's the case, it's very exciting. But we'll wait and see on that. So that's the next one.
Would the replacement be with a structure or without?
We haven't even gotten that far. We just got into the idea that we need to get going on it and plan it out. Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay. Dr. Mary Lou Wilson, Superintendent's Report. This is so different.
Yes, if I could begin my report with a huge thank you to our community members, our employees, our students who participated in the St. Helena Cafe in February. The photographs there show a large number of people joining us at the Native Sons Hall to answer questions and provide us input in not only how we can improve our practice and update our local control accountability plan, also information around our mission and vision. The next step will be our LCAP steering committee will meet later this month, and they'll begin to analyze all of the data collected. We have pages and pages of information, and so we're very excited about bringing that information into a report and sharing it with you as a board in the near future, and also bringing to you a draft update to the mission and the vision statement. It was a great event, and I appreciate all of the work that staff produced to make that happen and all of the participation. Wanted to also thank the city and their work in writing a grant. We do have a school resource officer joining our schools. I know that they're in progress right now with regards to hiring, and a general press release went out to our community explaining the whole notion of a resource officer. Once that officer has been announced, then another press release will go out introducing that school resource officer to our community. They are dedicated to our schools and working with students on all 4 of our sites, and it's an exciting grant and an exciting opportunity for the school district and also for the city. Excuse me, it's been a long day. Want to remind everyone, it's March. What does that mean? March 24th is coming. That means it's time for Giving Big. Our parent groups and the foundation have been working together for the last 5 years. This is the single fundraiser that occurs every year that supports enhancements to our teachers' programs in their classrooms, to some of the field trips, and certainly spirit types of activities at the high school. So Give Big is on the 24th. The 24th is the celebration of St. Helena becoming a city. You can give big today. Tomorrow you don't have to wait till the 24th. You can go online and give big at any time. And then following Give Big, we're very excited to hold Run Big. That'll be on Friday, March 29th. That's the day before the spring break for our school district. It is a minimum day. And typically on minimum days, each school gets out at a slightly different time. In order to accommodate Run Big, we're actually making the release time for all schools the same at 12:15. We'll have buses to move the students to the Boys and Girls Club, and we'll have snacks to make sure that everyone feels not only hydrated with water, but content with their tummies. Sign Up Genius has gone out to our parents requesting volunteers. In order for Run Big to happen, we do need volunteers on every street corner that the race is occurring to ensure the safety. Staff is working with the students and safety as well, but we do need those parent volunteers. So please consider volunteering. I'm told that students are very excited because color is back. The parent groups and the foundation worked to make sure that those students that want color, when they're running, will have they'll be able to run through the colors of the schools. So Run Big happens on the 29th, and I invite all of the board members to join me. I'll be on a bicycle, making sure that I can get through the entire route and support with student safety. And there we go on my report for tonight.
Thank you very much. We are on to item number 14, which is future agenda items. There is a list that is coming up for the April 11th meeting. Is there anything that anybody wishes to bring forward to the board at this time?
No, thank you. Not for me.
Okay. At this point, that brings us to item number 15, adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.